Hey beautiful souls, welcome back to Zen Mind Peaceful Life, your sacred space for astrology, soul wisdom, and personal transformation. Whether you're a Taurus or someone with Taurus rising, Moon, or even Venus in Taurus, this video is your cosmic wake-up call. Because April isn't just your season. It's a spiritual checkpoint, and if you miss this one powerful sign the universe is sending you right now, June could break you in ways you never saw coming. Now, I know that sounds intense. But stay with me. Because what I'm about to share isn't fear-based astrology, it's conscious astrology. And when you understand what Taurus energy is really trying to teach you right now, you'll realize June doesn't have to break you. It can break you open into a whole new version of yourself. In this video, we're diving deep into what's really happening for Taurus in April, how your comfort zone could be quietly sabotaging you, and the exact signs your soul is sending to steer you back into alignment. If you're ready for clarity, growth, and grounded peace, you're in the right place. Don't forget to subscribe, like, and share this with someone who needs a little cosmic guidance today. Let's dive in. April has this strange kind of silence for Taurus energy. It's almost like a calm before the storm, but not in a dramatic way, more like that moment when your body knows something is shifting, even if your mind hasn't caught up yet. It's not chaos. Not yet. But it's coming. And it's patient. This April, Taurus isn't just being celebrated, Taurus is being tested. It's like the universe is setting up an emotional obstacle course that looks deceptively peaceful from the outside. And that's the thing with Taurus energy, it craves peace. It wants stability. It's drawn to routines, to the things it knows, to the places and people that feel safe. But what happens when safety becomes suffocating? I had a client once, let's call her Marissa. She was a Taurus sun, Taurus moon. Double earth. Deep roots. She had a job she hated, a relationship that had long lost its spark, and a home that looked Pinterest perfect but felt emotionally hollow. She told me, but everything is fine. I have what I need. And she did. But she also hadn't cried in 2 years. Hadn't laughed freely in longer. Her body was starting to ache in places she didn't understand, tightness in her throat, pressure in her neck, her voice cracking when she tried to express herself. Classic Taurus signals. The body speaks when the heart has been silenced too long. That's the thing about Taurus season, it wants to nourish you. But it also demands honesty. This isn't a time to keep watering the dead plants in your life. The first big shift in April starts when the sun enters Taurus. It's not just a birthday season, it's an energetic spotlight on everything you value. Your finances. Your relationships. Your time. Your peace. And most importantly, your self-worth. But here's the catch, when that spotlight hits, it doesn't just illuminate the beauty. It also casts shadows. Suddenly, things you've been avoiding start whispering louder. Maybe it's a job that's draining you more than it's paying you. Maybe it's that friendship that always makes you feel small, but you hold on to it because it's familiar. Or maybe it's you, constantly putting your needs last because you don't want to be seen as selfish. And here's the truth no one likes to say, Taurus energy can sometimes hide in comfort. It can disguise stagnation as stability. Growth feels risky when you've built a life that looks fine on the surface. But April asks, is fine really enough for you anymore? There's this subtle rebellion happening inside you, Taurus. You might not see it yet, but you feel it. That slight irritation when your routine gets disrupted. That odd craving for change, even though you don't know what kind. That sudden pull towards something softer, wilder, or more soulful. That's not restlessness. That's your evolution knocking. Now imagine this, you ignore it. You double down on comfort. You convince yourself that change is dangerous. You keep saying yes to things you've outgrown because they're easier than starting over. That's when June comes. And June doesn't whisper. June demands. It will bring a mirror to everything you suppressed in April. A confrontation with everything you chose not to feel. That's why now, right now, matters. This is the moment to start listening, deeply. Not just to astrology forecasts or your horoscope app, but to your body. Taurus rules the throat and neck. Have you noticed more tension there lately? Are your words coming out stiff or shaky? Do you feel a lump in your throat when you try to speak your truth? That's not random. It's energy trying to move. Trying to wake you up. There's something deeply powerful about giving yourself permission to feel safe in change. One of the most healing questions you can ask this April is, what am I holding on to that's actually holding me back? You may not have the answer right away. But sit with it. Let it sit in your journal. Let it echo in your morning walks. Trust that your inner wisdom knows more than your outer routines. And remember, Mercury may be retrograding through Taurus right now. That's not a curse. It's an invitation. To slow down. To reflect. To ask yourself, does this align with who I'm becoming? Mercury retrograde in Taurus will bring up past decisions. Old beliefs, outdated values. It's not there to punish you. It's there to free you, if you're willing to look. You might notice certain patterns returning. Money challenges that echo something from a few years ago. Relationship tension that feels oddly familiar. Old fears about not being enough that creep back in. These are not regressions. They're reviews. Think of April as a soulful audit, not of your productivity, but of your peace. What has cost you too much emotionally, energetically, spiritually? There's this unspoken myth in modern spirituality that growth should feel light, easy, joyful. But for Taurus, real growth often feels like grief at first. Because you're saying goodbye to the version of you that played small just to feel secure. You're laying to rest the patterns that protected you, even though they kept you stuck. That's not weakness. That's courage. So let's get real. What's your comfort zone costing you? Maybe it's the dream you keep postponing because you don't feel ready. Maybe it's the voice you silence because it's easier to be agreeable. Maybe it's the relationship you keep feeding even though it starves your joy. April isn't telling you to burn everything down. It's asking you to notice, really notice, what no longer fits. And then to have the grace to release it, even before the replacement shows up. That's faith. That's alignment. That's Taurus in its evolved form, grounded, yes, but no longer glued to false security. And here's the most magical part, once you start honoring that inner signal, the one you've ignored because it didn't make logical sense, the universe starts responding. Suddenly, synchronicities appear. A new opportunity comes out of nowhere. Someone says exactly what you needed to hear. The path doesn't unfold all at once, but it starts to shimmer. And you remember, you were never stuck. Just scared. And that's okay. You're not late. You're not broken. You're exactly where you need to be, at the edge of your next chapter. But here's what I need you to remember. If you skip this check-in now, the pressure will build. Taurus is ruled by Earth, and when Earth energy gets ignored, it erupts. In June. That could mean emotional meltdowns, financial tension, or a sudden wake-up call from your body. So if you've been feeling like something's off, like you're walking through your days half-numb, like your joy is just out of reach, don't ignore that. It's not weakness. It's wisdom. Let April be your turning point. Let it be the month you chose to stop pretending you were fine. Let it be the moment you softened into your truth. You don't need a breakdown to grow. You need a breakthrough, and Taurus, you're closer than you think. What if this April? Instead of forcing productivity or pretending everything's okay, you paused? You listened. You nourished. You reevaluated. And you asked the questions you've been too afraid to answer. Who am I becoming? What truly matters now? What am I finally ready to release? If you're still here, still watching, that means something in you resonates. Something deep and wise and ancient. That's the Taurus part of you. The part that's slow to move, but unstoppable once it starts. The part that's rooted, but destined to rise. And here's the twist, we haven't even gotten to the real sign yet, the one that changes everything. But more on that, in the next part of the video. There's a misconception that the sign the universe sends you is always dramatic. People expect burning bushes, explosive endings, or lightning strike moments of clarity. But the truth is, the signs that change our lives usually arrive in whispers. They come softly, disguised as discomfort, fatigue, or a subtle knowing that something isn't quite right. Taurus energy, especially in April, is subtle like that. It doesn't rush, it doesn't shout. It nudges. It invites. But when you don't listen, that same gentle energy can become the very force that shakes your foundations in June. The sign you're looking for may not be written in the stars, but in your own daily experiences. It might show up in the way you keep waking up already tired, even after 8 hours of sleep. In the way conversations feel more draining than nourishing. In the way your favorite rituals, your morning coffee, your evening music, no longer hit the same. It may feel like losing access to joy without knowing why. That's not depression, necessarily. That's your inner compass trying to reorient itself. Taurus is an earth sign, deeply attuned to the physical world. So when you're out of alignment, your body is the first to know. I once spoke with a woman, she was a Taurus rising, very grounded, always calm. But she came to me saying she was losing her voice during important conversations. Not metaphorically, literally. Her throat would tighten up every time she tried to speak her needs. That's not just biology. That's energy. Taurus rules the throat chakra, your voice. Your truth, your boundaries. Her body was screaming what her mouth couldn't say, I can't keep swallowing what I feel. Listening to your body is spiritual work. And in Taurus season, it becomes sacred. Every ache, every tightness, every wave of exhaustion is not an inconvenience, it's a message. And the longer you ignore it, the louder it will get. There's a beautiful paradox in Taurus energy. On one hand, it's about comfort and simplicity. On the other, it's about values. And here's where it gets tricky. If you're not consciously choosing your values, you're unconsciously defaulting to survival mode. That's when you stay in relationships that dim you. That's when you overwork in jobs that don't nourish you. That's when you say yes to things out of guilt instead of desire. This month, life will likely present you with tiny moments of discomfort that are actually signs, not of something going wrong, but of your soul waking up. You'll feel it when you're halfway through a conversation and realize you're performing instead of connecting. You'll notice it when your usual coping mechanism, scrolling, shopping, eating, doesn't soothe like it used to. You'll sense it when you hear yourself saying, I'm fine. But deep down, you're anything but. A man I worked with recently had his natal Venus in Taurus's classic signs of seeking peace, beauty, harmony. He was a great listener, a loyal friend. Someone who always kept the peace in the room. But his peacekeeping had turned into people-pleasing. He was so afraid of conflict that he stopped having opinions. He told me, it's like I don't know what I want anymore. And I said, that is the sign. Losing your sense of desire is not emptiness. It's space. It's sacred emptiness asking to be filled with truth, not habit. When your usual wants disappear, it's because your soul is making room for deeper ones. If that's where you are right now, craving something but unsure what, honor that space. Don't rush to fill it. Sit with it. Taurus teaches us that stillness isn't stagnation. Sometimes, it's transformation happening beneath the surface. The signs also come in relationships, and not just romantic ones. You'll feel them when someone interrupts you one too many times, and your body floods with heat. You'll feel it when a friend makes a passive-aggressive comment, and something in you finally says, "That's enough." These aren't overreactions. They're thresholds. They're boundaries rising from the deep, not because you're angry, but because you're ready. These signs won't always feel spiritual. They'll feel inconvenient, emotional, messy. You might cry in the middle of your workday. You might cancel plans without having a good enough reason. You might say something bold that surprises even you. Good. That's your truth cracking the shell of old expectations. That's the new self pushing its way forward. Taurus isn't about sudden revolution. It's slow, steady, deliberate evolution, but it does evolve. And when it does, you can't go back. Don't wait for a breakdown to honor your boundaries. Don't wait for burnout to justify rest. Don't wait for a crisis to ask, is this really the life I want? The sign is here now. Not in the stars, in the subtle friction of your everyday life. That coworker you used to tolerate is suddenly unbearable? That project that used to light you up now feels like a weight? That's the sign. And here's a truth that might sting a little. Sometimes the thing that once healed you is now the thing that's holding you back. That meditation app that used to center you now feels like a chore. That vision board you made last year no longer excites you. That version of success you worked so hard for doesn't feel aligned anymore. That doesn't mean you're ungrateful. It means you're growing. Growth looks like shedding. It looks like grieving the things that once made sense. It looks like choosing discomfort now to avoid disaster later. And Taurus energy, when it's honored, gives you the strength to do that with grace. You don't have to bulldoze your life. But you do need to listen. Because the longer you ignore the signs, the more intense the course correction will be in June. So, how do you work with this energy instead of fighting it? Start by observing your emotional patterns. When do you feel tight? Small? Drained? That's your compass. When do you feel soft? Open, peaceful? That's your yes. Let your body lead. Taurus is a sensual sign, not in the romantic sense, but in the sensory sense. It trusts what it can feel. So feel. Touch. Taste. Smell. Get out of your head and into your body. The answers live there. Second, simplify. Complexity is often a distraction from truth. Clean out your space. Unsubscribe from emails. Cancel that lunch you don't want to go to. Give yourself breathing room, not just in your calendar, but in your mind. Clarity loves quiet. Third, speak. Out loud. Write it down. Tell someone what's really going on. Even if it's messy. Even if it makes no sense. Your voice is your anchor this month. Taurus rules the throat not just as a physical center, but as a spiritual one. Speaking your truth isn't just healing, it's necessary for your next step. There's a story unfolding this April. It's not loud. It's not dramatic. But it's deep. It's ancient. It's the story of you returning to yourself, not the version the world asked you to be, but the version that existed before you knew how to betray your needs for approval. You don't need to be fearless to evolve. You just need to be willing. Willing to listen. Willing to feel. Willing to be honest about where you've compromised too much. That's the kind of courage Taurus energy rewards. Not reckless bravery, but quiet, rooted integrity. And there's more. Because while this part of the journey is internal, what comes next is something else entirely. The external shifts. The confrontations. The decisions that change everything. We're not there yet, but it's coming. And if you want to navigate June with strength and softness intact, the groundwork begins now. In April. In the body. In the breath. In the whisper you're finally ready to hear. Stay with me. Because in the next part, we go even deeper into the why behind the breakdowns. and how to turn them into breakthroughs. You won't want to miss it. There's a strange kind of clarity that comes right before something breaks. Not a loud or aggressive kind of knowing, but more like a quiet, bone-deep realization that you've stretched yourself too thin for too long. That's the energy Taurus might be sitting with in April. Not yet broken, but no longer unbreakable. And that's not weakness. That's awareness. That's the gift of recognizing your own edge before you're pushed over it. Most people expect the universe to communicate through drama. But that's not how Taurus learns. Taurus grows through pressure that builds slowly, like roots pushing through the earth. It's not flashy, but it's powerful. And if you've been ignoring the inner pressure for weeks, maybe even years, April is when the pressure becomes unmistakable. And if you don't work with it, June may become the moment your life rearranges itself, with or without your consent. I had a Taurus client last year, deeply practical, deeply loyal, deeply exhausted. She'd been working at the same company for 9 years, in a role that paid her well but drained her soul. "It's fine," she kept saying. "I have benefits. I get Fridays off. It could be worse." And yet, every Sunday night, she cried in the shower. Not because of anything specific, but because her spirit was slowly wilting. She stayed in that role because it was familiar. Because her Taurus nature was afraid of the unknown. She ignored the signs. The chronic tension headaches. The dreams of freedom. The quiet resentment that bled into her marriage. By the time June arrived, her company had gone through a restructuring. She didn't lose her job, but her entire team did. She was left to pick up their workload without support. That's when she broke. And I don't mean breakdown like sobbing uncontrollably, I mean breakdown in the system. Her body gave out. Panic attacks. Digestive issues. A sudden inability to sleep more than 3 hours a night. That's how the soul speaks when it's been ignored too long. When we talked, I asked her one question: when did you stop listening to yourself? She paused for a long time, and said, "When I convinced myself that being responsible meant being silent." That's the Taurus trap. Believing that loyalty requires self-sacrifice. That stability means suppressing your truth. That being the strong one means never changing course. But the deeper lesson Taurus must embrace is this: loyalty without alignment is betrayal in slow motion. And April is the moment to recalibrate. To remember that you are not here to suffer beautifully. You're here to live fully. When we ignore what April is trying to show us, we essentially sign a spiritual contract for June to teach us the same lesson, only louder. That might come through a financial crisis, a relationship confrontation, or a creative burnout that empties us. And none of it is punishment. It's just pressure that had nowhere else to go. The astrology of June is already setting up to be intense, possibly involving hard aspects from Mars or Saturn. These planets don't whisper. They teach through consequence. Mars brings confrontation and energy bursts. Saturn brings limits, lessons, and structures that can no longer support your growth. When these planets interact with Taurus energy, especially if you've avoided change during April, they create an emotional bottleneck. Everything you buried under "I'm fine" will come spilling out, not because you're broken, but because you're full. This is why April isn't just about enjoying Taurus season, it's about using it. The soft light of mid-spring is your chance to look gently but honestly at your patterns. Where have you been outsourcing your peace? What roles have you accepted that no longer reflect your values? What version of yourself are you protecting, even though it's expired? I had another session recently with a woman who had Taurus in her North Node, her soul's destiny. She told me she had everything she thought she wanted. A stable partner, a calm life, a quiet home. But inside, she felt like a guest in her own body. Her dreams had become decorations, pretty, untouched, collecting dust. She said, "I keep telling myself I'm grateful, but I think I'm just afraid to want more." That's the silent heartbreak of Taurus energy when it's unevolved, confusing gratitude with passivity. The evolved Taurus knows this. Gratitude is not complacency. It's a foundation. And real gratitude says, thank you, and now I'm ready for the next chapter. This is where psychology and astrology meet. Psychologically, Taurus can struggle with what's called learned helplessness, the belief that things won't change. So why try? You get used to disappointment. You become expert at endurance. But Taurus isn't here to endure, it's here to embody. To feel pleasure. To live richly. And that only happens when you stop settling. If you're feeling a tension between what you have and what you want, that's not a problem. That's the path. April is asking you to notice where your energy leaks. Where you feel resentful. Even if you should feel grateful. Where your boundaries are too loose, too rigid, or non-existent. Your nervous system might already be warning you. You flinch at small requests. You feel relief when plans get cancelled. You feel like resting all the time but wake up exhausted anyway. These aren't just random symptoms, they're spiritual data. And you don't need to fix them overnight. You just need to stop ignoring them. So what do you do now? You start by choosing peace that doesn't cost your power. You start noticing when you say yes but mean no. You make space, even 10 minutes a day, to sit with your truth. Not the edited version. The raw one. The one that knows what needs to change. You give yourself permission to slow down, not out of laziness but out of intention. Taurus teaches that slow is sacred. That silence is intelligent. That what grows slowly lasts longer. So instead of rushing to fix what's breaking, listen to what it's saying. This might mean creating new rituals. Instead of forcing productivity, start your day with grounding. Not just coffee, but connection with your breath, your values, your voice. Instead of checking your phone first thing, check in with yourself. Ask, what do I need to feel safe today? What would nourish me right now? You also give yourself permission to disappoint others if it means not abandoning yourself. That's a lesson Taurus often resists, wanting so badly to be reliable that it becomes rigid. But true reliability begins with being honest. If you keep showing up from guilt or fear, your presence becomes a performance. And your soul feels it. There's a part of you that already knows the truth. It's the part that feels heavy when you walk into certain rooms. The part that feels lighter when you cancel something. The part that daydreams about starting over but quickly silences itself. Let that part speak. Let it be heard. Let it lead. Because here's the thing most people won't tell you, the breakdown doesn't come to destroy you. It comes to relieve you. It comes to take away what you no longer have the strength to carry. What looks like collapse might actually be the beginning of your recalibration. And if you work with this energy now, April becomes the month you reclaim your clarity, not through chaos, but through conscious choice. This is why June doesn't have to be scary. It only becomes a crisis when you refuse to evolve. But if you start listening now, to your body, your boundaries, your buried truths, June becomes a liberation. A shedding. A sacred reset. And here's the best part, you don't have to do it alone. The energy of Taurus reminds us that community matters. That you deserve spaces where your truth doesn't feel like too much. That healing doesn't mean isolating, it means choosing connection that nourishes, not depletes. So if you're watching this and something inside you is nodding, even if your mind is scared, trust that. That's your inner knowing. That's the sign. That's the truth that your higher self planted long ago, now finally ready to bloom. And in the next part of this journey, we'll explore how to transform everything you're feeling right now, the exhaustion, the confusion, the craving for more, into aligned action. Because Taurus isn't just about reflection. It's about creation. And the next step is closer than you think. Stay with me. This story is just beginning. There's a moment in every personal transformation where the inner shift becomes impossible to ignore. It doesn't happen with fireworks or a big announcement. It often comes in silence, in that one morning when you wake up and realize, I can't keep doing this to myself. That moment doesn't always come with a clear plan. But it always comes with truth. April, in all its calm and quiet, is offering you that moment. Not to rush, not to panic, but to realign. And if you've made it this far into the video, you already feel it. You know there's something you're meant to let go of. Something you're meant to reclaim. Something that's been waiting patiently for you to say yes to yourself again. So how do you begin that process without feeling overwhelmed? The answer lies in slowing down. Slowing down doesn't mean giving up. It means getting clear. It means tuning in to the signals your body, your intuition, your emotions have been sending you, even when the world told you to keep going. Especially when the world told you to keep going. This is a beautiful time to reconnect with the wisdom of your nervous system. That part of you that knows what safety feels like and what it doesn't. Taurus energy is sensual. It's body first. It reminds us that healing is not a thought process, it's an embodied experience. You can't journal your way into wholeness if your body is living in survival. That's why grounding practices are essential right now, not as routines to check off, but as rituals of reconnection. Take your shoes off and walk in the grass. Breathe deeply into your belly. Stretch your neck. Speak out loud to yourself when no one's watching. Let your body hear your truth. That's when real integration begins. Not when you force yourself to be better, but when you remember you've always been enough. And this is also the moment to invite in radical self-inquiry. Not judgment. Not criticism. But gentle curiosity. Ask yourself, what parts of me have I silenced to make others comfortable? What have I outgrown, but stayed with out of fear? What am I craving that I haven't let myself want? These questions aren't meant to create chaos, they're meant to clear space. Because the life that truly belongs to you can't land if there's no room for it. The relationship that honors you. The job that energizes you. The peace that doesn't come with a price. All of that begins with honesty. And yes, it can feel scary. Vulnerability always does. But that fear is not a stop sign, it's a threshold. A doorway. And this April, Taurus is standing at that doorway with you. Saying, take your time, but take the step. Let's talk about journaling, because this is one of the most underestimated, yet powerful, tools in Taurus season. Not because it gives you answers, but because it helps you hear yourself more clearly. When you write without filters, you begin to notice your patterns, your desires, your truths. And even your resistance. Set aside 10 minutes. No phone. No agenda. Just you and a blank page. Try prompts like, if I trusted myself fully, I would. I'm tired of pretending that. The version of me that's emerging needs. Don't edit. Don't analyze. Just write. Let it be messy. Let it be honest. That mess? That's your soul unclenching. Another powerful practice during this time is reevaluating your values. Taurus is ruled by Venus, the planet of value, not just money, but emotional currency. Where are you spending your energy like loose change? What are you investing in that no longer appreciates in meaning? Remember, values are not static. What mattered 5 years ago might not align with your current reality. And that's okay. In fact, it's necessary. Because who you are now, after everything you've lived through, healed through, survived, is not who you were. And your life should reflect that. Ask yourself, what do I want more of? What am I done tolerating? These questions are scary because they demand action. But action doesn't have to mean burning bridges or quitting everything. Sometimes action looks like saying no with love. Sometimes it looks like clearing your calendar. Sometimes it's asking for help. Or letting something go before it gets taken from you. You don't need a 5-year plan. You need a moment of truth. Just one. And from there, things begin to shift. There's something else Taurus season reminds us, and it's one of the most beautiful lessons: you deserve beauty. Not just in the aesthetic sense, but in the energetic sense. You deserve peace that feels like exhaling. Conversations that don't leave you doubting yourself. Spaces where your presence is a gift, not a task. And yes, that starts with how you treat yourself. Your inner dialogue. The way you show up when no one's watching. Are you punishing yourself for not being further along? Are you withholding joy because you haven't earned it yet? These are the quiet ways we abandon ourselves. April is asking you to stop doing that. Because when you begin to honor your enoughness, when you root into it like only Taurus can, everything begins to shift. You speak differently. You walk differently. You make decisions from power, not panic. And the universe responds. Now, I want you to imagine this. It's mid-June. And instead of crashing, you feel grounded. Not because nothing changed, but because you changed first. You chose to listen in April, when the whispers were still soft. You started clearing out what no longer served you. You let go, even when you didn't know what would replace the empty space. And now, in June, you're not breaking. You're blooming. That's the gift of alignment. That's the reward of doing the quiet work before the storm. That's Taurus in its highest form: steady, strong, self-honoring. So if you're here, and something in this video resonated with you, this is your sign. The one you were waiting for. Not loud. Not dramatic. But real. You felt it all along, now you're just ready to act on it. Give yourself the permission you've been waiting for. Permission to rest. To speak. To choose again. To walk away. To begin again, even if you're scared. Especially if you're scared. Because the most powerful breakthroughs always begin with a whisper and a willingness. And if you're still watching this, your soul already said yes. Let this be your turning point. Let this be the month that your future self looks back on and says, that's when everything changed, because that's when I started listening to myself again. You're not alone in this. And you don't have to do it perfectly. You just have to keep showing up, with grace, with honesty, and with love. Thank you so much for spending this time with me. For honoring your own evolution, and for choosing this space to reconnect with your truth. If this video touched something in you, if it gave you even one moment of clarity, peace, or self-connection, please don't forget to like, share, and subscribe to Zen Mind Peaceful Life. This community exists to support your growth, your softness, and your power. Leave a comment below and tell me. What truth are you finally ready to honor? What change are you quietly choosing, even if no one else understands yet? I read every comment, and this space is for you. Until next time, stay rooted, stay real, and remember, your peace is a choice you're allowed to make every single day. Namaste.